Hello and welcome back. And let's talk about quantum physics. So this is part 2 of our series on quantum physics. I hope you have seen the previous video. In that we basically had an introduction to the idea of quantum physics. I did not discuss any technical things. Okay, हमने बस इंट्रोडक्शन देखा था और हमने बात किया था क्वांटम फिजिक्स क्या है. ओके, जस्ट एक छोटा सा हमने झलक देखा था. Okay, we only had a very tiny glimpse of what is meant by quantum physics. In today's video, we are going to delve deeper into it. आज थोड़ा सा टेक्निकल चीजों का बात करेंगे. Okay, I hope that you will like this video as well. So today we are going to talk about the black body radiation problem, and we are going to talk about electrons, and of course we will be talking about light. Because if you remember, आपको मैंने कहा था, the study of quantum physics and the entire idea about quantum physics started with understanding what is light. Okay, so let's begin. So first, how is light created? Light बनता कैसे है? If I ask you, हमको light बनाना है, कैसे बनाएंगे? तो you will say it is very simple. We'll take a matchbox, correct, and we'll strike the matchstick and we'll get light. Or we will just switch on the tube light, बटन प्रेस करेंगे and tube light चालू हो गया and we have created light. So for us, for you and I, it is very easy to create light. But of course, it is not that easy. So how does light get created? What is the science behind creation of light? To understand that, we have to understand atoms, which we have studied obviously. So atom के अंदर क्या होता है? Atom has got the central nucleus. Okay, nucleus के अंदर होता है protons and neutrons. I am sure you know protons are positive and neutrons, they don't have any charge. And around the nucleus we have the electrons which are revolving around the nucleus. I think this is the basic that every student knows. Every person who has ever studied even a little bit of science, he knows about atoms. Okay, so we have a nucleus and we have the electrons revolving around the nucleus. Now how does the atom relate with light? Atom और light का क्या relation है? Okay, so let us try to understand. Now what we know about atoms and what we know about electrons. Every electron, it moves around the atom in some orbits. है ना, एक path होता है around the atom where that electron is revolving. Something like this. This I'm sure you have seen in your science books many times. है ना, अंदर एक nucleus होता है and then we have these dotted lines which show the orbits. So the electrons, they are revolving around the nucleus. When they are revolving, these electrons have some amount of energy. Okay, जब electrons revolve करेंगे, so in that particular orbit they have some amount of energy. Now remember a basic fundamental thing about the electrons. So we have got various kind of orbits. The first orbit, second orbit, third orbit. Just as orbit बढ़ेगा, वैसे orbit का radius will go on increasing. The electron which is in the first orbit, जो पहला orbit में रहेगा, it will have the lowest amount of energy. Getting the idea? The electron which is in the lowest orbit, it has got lowest amount of energy. Let us call that energy as E1. Okay. The second orbit, the electron which is there in the second orbit, it will have higher energy as compared to the electron in the first orbit. Okay, and so on and so forth. So E1 से ज्यादा एनर्जी होगा E2 में, E2 से ज्यादा रहेगा E3 में, so on and so forth. So let us say you want to send an electron from first orbit to the second orbit. क्या करना पड़ेगा? You will have to give energy to the electron. Correct? Electron in the first orbit. You want to send it to the second orbit. You have to give some amount of energy. You gave some X amount of energy to electron which was in the first orbit. So from first orbit it has gone to second orbit. Okay. Similarly, second orbit से third में भेजना है. Again you have to give some amount of energy. यहाँ तक it is simple to understand. This is called as excitation. Okay. So if you are giving energy to the electrons, electrons will go on jumping the orbits, first to second, second to third, or even it is possible first to third or first to fifth. All these transitions are possible. So you have to give energy, and this process is called as excitation. जब इलेक्ट्रॉन हायर ऑर्बिट में चला जाता है लोअर ऑर्बिट में से, दैट इज कॉल्ड एज एक्साइटेशन. यहां तक क्लियर? बट नो एटम और इलेक्ट्रॉन वांट्स टू रिमेन एक्साइटेड. ऑलवेज रिमेंबर, हमारा यूनिवर्स का लॉ ऐसा है that no material, no object wants to remain at a higher energy state. Excited state में नहीं रहना चाहता. So it will come back to the lower energy state on its own. Means if electron is in the fourth orbit, for example, which you had excited, earlier electron was in the third orbit, and from third orbit you sent it to the fourth orbit, excited state. It does not want to remain in that excited state. So क्या करेगा? It will come back to the original state. मतलब third state में आ जाएगा. Okay, this is called as de-excitation. याद है clear? So giving energy to the atom or the electron, excitation. Energy देने से higher orbit में चला गया. Okay, then when it comes back to the original state, that is called de-excitation. ऊपर से नीचे आ गया. When this electron is coming from a higher orbit to a lower orbit now, correct? एक अब ऊपर वाले ऑर्बिट से नीचे वाले ऑर्बिट में जब आएगा, that is when it will give out a photon. That is the particle of light. ये फोटोन के बारे में थोड़ा देर के बाद हम लोग बात करेंगे. So when electron comes from higher orbit to lower orbit, it emits light. That is how light is emitted. Remember. So any kind of light that you are seeing, okay, it is coming from the de-excitation of electrons. Okay, so ये de-excitation जब होगा, only then light is given out. This is the fundamental thing we need to understand about the emission of light. Okay, so I hope that was understood. अभी आप पूछेंगे excitation करना कैसे है? How to give energy to the electron so that it goes to a higher orbit? So there are number of ways to do that. One of the simplest way is to give it heat energy. है ना, उसको गर्म करना है. गर्म करने से the atoms will get excited, electrons will move to higher state, then they will come to lower state and give out light. Okay, and that is where the black body radiation problem begins. You will ask, what is black body radiation problem? Basically any surface that is perfectly black, okay, when it is having some amount of heat, it gives out radiation. That is called as black body radiation. Okay, if you are interested in the problem, you can go online. There are many videos and many things explaining about black body. This particular video, I am not going to delve too deep into it. Okay, क्योंकि बहुत बड़ा topic है. But anyways, gist I'll give. So a black body which is having some amount of heat, correct? It emits energy. Correct? It emits radiation. That is called as the black body radiation. One example I'll give you. For example, you would have seen videos where they're melting glass, okay, or you would have seen videos where the iron smith he is working with the iron rods. तो एक iron rod को अगर हमने heat के अंदर डाल दिया, correct, and if you give heat to it, it starts giving out some kind of colors, है ना. जैसे जैसे heat बढ़ेगा, it will start to glow red. I'll try to put a photo here. Okay, so it will start to become red as the temperature rises. It from red it turns to slowly yellowish, and after some time it becomes very white. Okay, so basically that iron rod is acting like a black body because of the temperature, because of the amount of heat energy, it is giving out light energy. Okay, so now what is the problem in that? So what people did, what our scientists did, they tried to see the spectrum of this light that is emitted. Okay, to see a spectrum we use a prism. This is a prism. So I think you would have studied, when light will pass from a prism, it gets separated, it gets dispersed, and we see the spectrum. So now what we should have expected? Okay, so when light will pass from a prism, we expected to see a smear of light. Smear मतलब एक continuous distribution हमने expect कर दिया. Okay, but when the spectrum was obtained, instead of seeing a smear, we observed a figure like this. We observed distinct lines. This diagram that you see over here, this is the atomic spectra of hydrogen gas. So when hydrogen gas is excited, okay, it gives out light energy, and that light energy we obtained the spectrum, and this is how the spectrum looks like. Now for a person like you and me, हमारे लिए तो normal लग रहा है, correct? This doesn't make so much of difficulty for us. करेक्ट, हाइड्रोजन गैस है, उसको आपने एनर्जी दे दिया, इट इज गिविंग आउट लाइट, इट इज पासिंग फ्रॉम अ प्रिज्म एंड वी आर सीइंग दिस लाइट. बट साइंटिस्ट वो परप्लेक्स्ड बाय इट. व्हाई दे वर परप्लेक्स्ड आई विल टेल यू. नाउ अगेन कमिंग बैक टू आवर डायग्राम. आई होप ये थोड़ा सा क्लियर है. सो लेट अस से electron is in the higher orbit, and from higher orbit it is coming to the lower orbit. When it is doing this, it should be giving out the light energy. Correct? ये जब ऊपर से नीचे आ रहा है, that is when it is giving out the light energy. So हम लोग क्या imagine करेंगे? Electron is in the 5th orbit, for example. From orbit number 5, it is coming back to orbit number 4. When it is coming from 5 to 4, we will imagine यहाँ से थोड़ा light आएगा when it comes here. Then when it comes down, again it will give out some light. Then again some light. Then again some light. So we should have seen a continuous spectrum of light. We should have seen a sphere. एक continuous progression दिखना चाहिए था. But we did not see that. What we saw when it is coming from higher orbit to the lower orbit, only one band of light is given out. Okay, this is the spectra that you see. Okay, so when the electron is coming from 5th orbit to the 1st orbit, correct? This is the spectra. Or from 4th orbit to the 2nd orbit, we see different kind of lines. That means only one value of energy is given out when this electron is making the transitions, and it was perplexing. Why it was perplexing? It shows that when electron jumps from 5th orbit to the 4th orbit, there is no intermediate step. Means 5th orbit में से 4th orbit में आ गया. When it has come here, there is no intermediate step. पहले 5th में था, and then it showed up in the 4th orbit, and then it gave off that only that much amount of energy. Okay. As I said, इसको imagine करना भी for us it is very difficult. हम imagine भी नहीं कर सकते. But this is what is actually happening. Light, when it is emitted, it is not emitted continuously. It is emitted only in those we call them as packets. It is emitted in discrete units. 5th में से 4th में आएगा इतना एनर्जी, 5th में से 3rd में आ गया तो इतना एनर्जी. There is no intermediate step. And what it means is electron which was revolving in the 5th orbit, पहले ऐसा 5th में ही revolve कर रहा था. From 5th it has jumped directly to the 4th orbit. There is no in between. So there is no such 4.5 orbit. Correct? ये imagine करना भी हमारे लिए अजीब है. And that is what electrons are doing, and that is why this black body radiation is a problem. Okay, so we don't understand why they are acting in such a manner. So when this energy is coming out, it is coming out in these packets, and as I said, that is how quantum physics actually started to develop. Okay, so I hope this made some amount of sense. Okay, थोड़ा सा और explain करने का कोशिश करता हूँ. Okay, so imagine this is an electron which is in a higher state, let us say 5th orbit. 5th orbit में से उसको कहाँ पे आना है? It has to come in the 3rd orbit, for example. So we will imagine from 5th orbit slowly it will come back to the 3rd orbit. ऐसा हम लोग imagine करेंगे. But actual में कैसा होता है? It is in the 5th orbit, and from 5th orbit it comes to the 3rd orbit like this. Making sense? 5th में था और बाद में कहाँ पे नजर आया? 3rd में नजर आ गया. There was no intermediate step. Means there was no state where it even touched the 4th orbit. 5वें में से directly it showed up in the 3rd orbit. Okay, that is how our universe behaves. जो atoms है, atoms के अंदर जो electrons है, this is how they are making the transition, and this is not only applicable for higher to lower. Same thing applies when they are going from lower to higher. If electron is in the 3rd orbit, to go to the 4th orbit, it directly shows up in the 4th orbit. There is no intermediate step. Okay, and that is why quantum mechanics is so very confusing for us and also so much interesting. Okay, so I hope this made somewhat of sense, and I hope you found it interesting as well. Okay, so again, if you have liked it, please remember to tell me. In the next class, we'll try to bring some more such topics. Okay, and whatever is your queries on it or some points that you want to share with me, you are free to do so. Thank you.